I want to get you the very latest now on a story that has captured the attention of the nation coming out of Zanesville, Ohio. That's where a man who had a menagerie of wild, exotic animals on his property, more than 50 of them apparently, opened their cages to set them free before taking his own life on Tuesday. A number of those animals, 48 of them, were killed. And there is a lot of question this morning as to why they were killed, why they could not have been tranquilized, perhaps moved to a zoo. Joining us to help answer some of those questions this morning is Jack Hanna, Director Emeritus of the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. He worked tirelessly with police as they tracked down those animals. Jack, good to have you with us this morning. And it is obvious to so many, just in watching you over these last couple of days, how hard all of this has been on you as an animal lover.
It's been the worst thing that's ever happened to me in 40 years of this career, 40 years. But, you know, I sat there yesterday when I got there and at daylight and saw the carnage of the animals, and I go, why couldn't we have tranquilized them? But then when I was with the veterinarians and the sheriff, we had four tranquilizer guns that got there. Now, once they got there, we're 50 miles away on each side. Darkness was about 45 minutes. Picture, I don't know if you see these bears behind me. Those are grizzlies. We had a couple of those loose, along with 18 tigers, 17 lions and lionesses. So picture about 30 or 40 of them coming out of this whole compound with four tranquilizer guns. Now, if we even shot one of these animals, like a tiger or a bear, this thing has to hit a certain muscle. They're real good shots, these folks are. But we have 30-something animals coming at the sheriff, right, with our people. So what can be done with four guns? What you have happen here, once you hit the animal goes, and for 3 to 10 minutes, he's not down. He's just running everywhere because he's nervous. The drug is taking effect. No telling what would have happened if four tranquilizer guns were all we had there, and that started with 34 animals. They're huge carnivores. We would have had, there's no doubt in my mind, after 30-something years of 40-something years of doing this, we'd have had some deaths on our hand. Therefore, he had to make the critical decision. Every time I look at it, I know why people around the world are contacting me, around England, Australia, all over, are very upset with over this whole thing, the sheriff doing this. He had no choice, or we would have had major loss of human life in Zanesville, Ohio yesterday, during the nighttime, especially yesterday morning when the sun came up. So it's all over with now. I've sat here last night and cried several times. I'll look at these pictures. I don't believe it's happened, but what had to happen, or we'd have had a mess on our hands beyond comprehension.
Jack, 6 of the animals were able to be saved. They were transferred to the zoo. How are they doing this morning?
They're doing very well. We have footage, I think, here right now of the animals' footage that was taken early. It's about 4 a.m. this morning. They're eating well. They're doing well. And by the way, the governor, we met all day last night. The governor now is passing laws immediately. There'll be no more animal auctions in the state of Ohio with exotic animals. Within 6 months of that, we're going to go out here, the people like we saw last night, and those folks better expect to knock on their door. And if they're not up to standards, which are going to be great standards, because I'm going to have something to do with setting those standards, those animals will be taken immediately and taken to the wilds, where we're going to spend several hundreds of thousands of dollars building a repository there for these animals to have a home in a decent way.
You bring up such an interesting point here. Terry Thompson, who had these animals, had a record of animal abuse. Authorities were called out a number of times. He even had convictions on related charges, and yet he kept these animals. The conditions had been described as deplorable in some cases. If we knew of the situation there, if it was seen firsthand, how was it allowed to continue?
That's just what we've been sitting over here for the last 3 hours since 5:30 this morning. My wife asked me the same exact question. The sheriff had been up there 30, 40 times. He went to prison. My own people, I didn't know about, I knew they were out there somewhere. There's people in Ohio that have these animals. I didn't know it was him. My own people went there and they weren't allowed. They went to the tobacco and firearms. People went there when they went to arrest him for all the weapons. They went there, but they weren't allowed to do anything because the law states he's not open to the public. So the United States government cannot inspect his property to write him any kind of citations. So what do we have here? We have a situation that was unbelievable. There wasn't any law that we could do anything to him.
So all they could do, Jack, was basically check and make sure he had the permits that he needed to have in the state of Ohio, and that was it.
Can you imagine that? Well, that whole thing is changing in the next 60 to 90 days, and this will be one of the toughest states in the country when this gets done to pull anything like this off ever again. As long as I'm here, I know the governor. Governor Strickland started this whole thing. Governor Kasich now is going to carry it through in the next few months, and we'll be out there, and this will not happen again here under my watch in the state of Ohio, unless somebody's sneaking this without any of us knowing inside of a cave or something.
So many questions about why this happened and how it happened, what his thinking was before he took his own life. You actually met with his wife yesterday, who's dealing with a number of things at this point. Tell us a little bit, if you can, Jack, about this conversation and any insight she may have been able to offer you.
Well, what happened was I understood she was very upset with me for taking her children. Remember, these were her children. For someone killing her children. And why would I be up there trying to take the remaining 3 leopards, the certain little small primates, I say small apes this big, and as well as 1 grizzly? Why was I taking, please don't take, she was crying. She was actually uncontrollable. And you know what I did? When you see somebody that's just beaten to death, it's just done, she's lost her husband, I can't help that, but her husband committed suicide. But you see someone that's lost everything. I hugged her and I tried to hold her. She was shaking and I've lost everything. You're taking my children. I said, I'm not taking your children. I'm taking them to the Columbus Zoo right now to take care of them. They're still your children. They're your animals. We cannot bring them back in these conditions. I'm trying to help you right now. And you know something? Tears started coming out of my eyes. I'm not just telling that for you. I don't want anybody to feel sorry for Jack Hanna. I'm saying that the emotions that have been with me and our staff, the sheriff's deputies, when you saw those deputies sitting in there that had to shoot those animals, I wish you could have seen their faces. I wish you could have seen them when they said they had to go and talk to their children. That's not something that they wanted to do. Half of them looked like they had tears in their eyes, what they'd done. They were afraid that somebody would look at me because here they are shooting animals that Jack Hanna's trying to save. This is something that if you try to write a script for this, I couldn't even imagine even Hollywood coming up with something like this. This thing is like such a bad dream for all of us that it's over now. The animals lost their lives. The only good out of this came that in 90 to 100 days from now, this state will hopefully never have to face this again. But the woman was beaten. She's done. And what was I to do but hold her and tell her that, this will hopefully never happen again. That's all I could do.
Jack, can't tell you how much we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.